night, Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Let's get the hour going with Adam and Leo. Gentlemen, 42 days until the start of the 2023 UCF football season. We are getting closer.
This has been the longest July in the record of Julys. I don't know. This July leads the league in Julys. I don't know what's going on here, but it's just been the longest ever.
I'm 100% on board with you, Adam. It feels like forever. It feels like it was just like 30 days ago that I had a massive hangover on July 1st for celebrating the Big 12. But that's a story for another day.
Or is it, Leo?
We weren't going to bring it up, Leo. Not in the first minute of the show.
Yeah, I know. Now it's become part of the show now. So I'm already Kyle of the week one. So it's
a rite of passage, Leo. Embrace it, enjoy it, and then, move on.
Some breaking news this Thursday afternoon. The Big 12 has announced its pairings for men's basketball, and head coach Johnny Dawkins, who seems to be a little more active on social media on his Twitter account, says, quote, "We're ready." Adam, Leo, are they really ready? They welcome in BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, both of those UCF is familiar with, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Baylor, you may have heard of them, 2021 national champions, Iowa State, Kansas, 2022 national champion, and Oklahoma. Home only is BYU, Iowa State, Kansas, Texas, road only Baylor, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech, 18-game schedule. I have been saying all along, over under for me is 5 wins. Do you see 5 wins in this schedule?
I really miss Tulsa right about now because
that wasn't easy either.
That would be a good one. I mean, look, we knew this was a deep basketball league. We knew that there was going to be a lot of tough opposition this year. The Kansas home game is interesting. Somebody's about to pay for their kids' tuition because I'm sure those tickets will go for a fair penny on the
Didn't JP
market.
Gilbert buy season tickets for the sole purpose?
Listen, I'm not here to talk about JP Gilbert's investment strategies, Trace, but I think there is some tie-in there. It's a daunting schedule. It's certainly a tough schedule. Texas Tech is a good team. Obviously, Texas was a good team last year. You mentioned Kansas and Baylor. TCU is no slouch. We played Oklahoma 2 years ago now, and that was a close game down to the wire, but this is a whole different team. So
right. They beat Oklahoma State last year, right?
Night in and night out. They're going to have to find a way to bring it. And this is a tough schedule. Gone are the days of visiting ECU and right. Tulsa and Temple and hello, Kansas.
Right. Leo, I told you, Leo, remember sitting next to you up in the media area, I said, enjoy whatever wins you see this season because you may not see many next year.
And I enjoyed the ones that we could get. And I look at the schedule, right? And I say, oh, we got Kansas, Baylor at home. That's good. But then you look at the away and it's probably equally as bad. Like going to Kansas State is tough. Going to Texas is tough. There's no easy way out in the Big 12. It's just is what it is. And, we're lucky to have a home and away with some of these other schools like West Virginia is not bad. Texas Tech and Houston, we know what they can bring to the table. So it is what it is for UCF basketball. I did like what I saw in the preseason schedule, but it's a little, it's a little iffy. I don't know if we're gonna get to even 15 wins.
Well, Trace, here's the tough element, and Leo, you know this too. I have no idea what kind of team we have because it's a whole crop of new guys. So I have no idea.
Head coach Johnny Dawkins, quote, "We're ready." By the way, UCF Mike. You sure about that? So far, no response from Coach Dawkins to that hard-hitting question from UCF Mike.
I'm also ready for Margot Robbie, but it's just not going to happen, Trace. I just don't understand. Like, I don't know what kind of team we have. I don't know if this is a good team. I don't know if this is a team that matches up well. I don't know if this is a team that can win games late. Can they make free throws? I don't know anything about our team. So looking at the schedule, knowing how good these other teams are and how some of these tough environments are on the road, I mean, I hope Coach Dawkins is ready, but I'm not sure if I'm ready.
I mean, yeah, we saw this last year. We had a bunch of transfers come in, with CJ Kelly, Ethiel Horton, and all these boys, and they did all they could. And I feel like it's only going to be tougher for this new team coming in to go against a Big 12 gauntlet like this one. So it's a different year, and I really don't know what to expect.
Leo, you said the term preseason schedule, the non-conference schedule had come out earlier, nights with 9 games at home in a 12-game non-conference schedule. No South Florida on that schedule, but all of those games in state, of course, the 9 at home. Adam, they head up to Jacksonville for a tournament. They're down in Miami. They welcome in Ole Miss. They beat Ole Miss last year. So this is an opportunity opening with FIU on November 6th that they could get some wins there. You'd like to see them win 8-9 games in that non-conference schedule.
Yeah, if we're doing non-conference now, Trace, on the screen there are some winnable games here. There are certainly some winnable games in the schedule, and I know you and I were a part of a little shindig last night called Around the Kingdom, which we'll get to, and Eric Lopez of UCF athletics announcing fame, also up for a Golden Mike Award, by the way. I mean, he thinks we need 10 wins on this schedule, and I don't think he's wrong. I think 9 to 10 wins is going to be a must. Not leaving the state of Florida, I think, is a big plus here. But they're going to have to clean sweep this non-conference schedule and then hope for a bunch of turned ankles in the Big 12 to, I think, get to a spot where there's any sort of thought of even a winning record in this upcoming season.
Leo, you see 9-10 wins in the non-conference schedule?
Yeah, I can see the way they get close to 9 to 10. You know, last year I thought we had the potential to clean sweep the out of conference. Yes, there were some games that we lost pretty, and they were close, but they were just a better team. I thought UCF could have gone, 12-2 last year to start off the season, and because of those close games, it didn't turn out so well. But this year, depending on what we see. And I actually want to say getting Miami straight out the gate like that is pretty interesting because I feel like the teams are starting to still gain some chemistry. So we could maybe even surprise Miami, which I think might be the only loss on the out of conference. But I see the rest of the schedule looks pretty winnable depending on what we put out there.
Of course, we don't know a whole lot about who's going to be on this team, right? Darius Johnson, we get CJ Walker back healthy, and then a lot of new faces that we'll have plenty of time to talk about. Of course, as we mentioned off the top, 42 days until the start of the UCF football season, coming off of Big 12 Media Days, and who really was a big player there representing Channel 9 locally in Orlando was Alex Walker, sports anchor at WFTV, and he's good enough to join us this week on Sons of UCF Live. Alex, welcome in.
Hey guys, how are we? Thanks for having me on the show.
Doing well. You produce so much content there, but let me begin with this. How's your bow tie game? Because John Rice Plumlee was an A-lister there with that bow tie.
He was, man. That gold bow tie was looking pretty nice there in Arlington, and he said he always wears it for big occasions. And something about that gold bow tie on that stage for JRP was pretty cool to see.
Can you tie a bow tie?
So I can't. But
this is a candid admission here.
I will say I will never, ever, ever, ever buy a clip-on tie. I own like 4 bow ties. They're all already tied, and you just adjust like the width of your neck, and you're good to go. You can't even tell. That's how you got to do it. I don't mess with clip-on ties, but clip-on bow ties all day.
So you were part of the coverage there, more than 700 credentialed media members. What was that like to be a part of that at Jerry's World? You were producing stories over the course of those days. What was it like to be in those scrums and be in the fray?
It was neat. It was my first experience at AT&T Stadium. It's the best arena, best stadium I've been in my entire life, and I've been in Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. And this is a next level arena, and it was neat to see UCF on that stage. Gus Malzahn joked in his comments that the last 2 years I zoomed into my media days. It's a little different when you're on that big stage, home of the Dallas Cowboys, amongst all those other big time brands like Oklahoma, Texas, you got Baylor, Kansas State, TCU. So to see those guys on that stage, to be in that fray, it was really neat. It was a great experience, and cool to be a part of the ride as they join this Big 12 conference.
Alex, what kind of questions did you get from other media, other folks from other schools? How big a deal was UCF? Were you getting a lot of questions about the Knights? Were you in big demand to share some UCF knowledge with a bunch of our new friends there in the Big 12?
What was neat is that it's 2-part answer. First part is UCF. I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, they had these little neat fact sheets they were handing out in Arlington, which was genius. making note of how big the alumni base is, making note of their connection to space and NASA. And that was neat because that was kind of the talk of Thursday morning when they were handing those out. That quickly spread. But, got asked a lot of questions just kind of about, their roster. Is JRP the real deal when healthy? A lot of it was, how is it worth making the trip to the bounce house for a weekend? That was kind of one of the big ones. Like, should we make the trip? Should we experience it? Which, of course, was, yeah, absolutely. This is a unique venue. It rocks. It gets loud, and you'll get to see them play on Saturdays for the first time in a while. Usually they're playing on weird days of the week, but we were. It was nice because we had media from other markets just kind of picking our brain about being one of the newcomers on the block, and they're obviously very excited. And a lot of the other coaches, I had a chance to ask Mike Gundy and David Randa at Baylor and Chris Kleeman at Kansas State about excited to come to Orlando for a weekend. And they said, well, Chris Kleeman said, hey, we're excited that they're coming here because they don't want to go to the bounce house and take an early season loss. And so, yeah, it was UCF was big time there. They were one of the big talks of media days, and that was cool to see.
Of the 4 new schools, was UCF kind of the most talked about of the other 3 schools joining us?
It was the most talked about, and it wasn't really close, to be quite honest. It was like startlingly. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now here on this show. It was almost strange how little talk there were about the other 3 newcomers, if I'm being quite honest. And I listened to every coach go, every player. I made my rounds. There was a couple of BYU media outlets, and people were excited to go to Provo, and BYU, at least recently, obviously they were a brand back in the day, but they've had some really good teams recently. Cincinnati, didn't really hear much about them, to be honest. They had a really good writer there who's great at Cincinnati that was producing some good content. Houston, I would say if there was like a runner-up to UCF in terms of buzz, I would say it was Houston. I mean, this is such a natural fit in this new look Big 12, and Dana Holgerson had a lot of good things to say about his program, and vice versa. But there's just something about, and I'm not just saying that because I cover UCF. It's just there was just something about, everyone knows UCF's that team that they've claimed a national championship recently. They've had an undefeated season. They've beaten the big dogs before. Why can't they beat them again? And so it's not like, welcome to the conference, and you're going to get hammered every week, and you're going to be a bottom tier. They're picked middle of the pack, and I think a lot of these coaches think they're going to be upper part of that pack very, very quickly. Maybe even this year. Who knows?
Alex, I like to think Brett Yormark is a very vocal commissioner. He's very out there. I'm not sure how much time you got with him, but what were your first impressions of with him, like, and the with the 4 newcomers and also the 2 outgoing programs in Oklahoma and Texas? What were his conversations like with those 6 programs?
I tell you what, this is a commissioner that he knows what he's doing. I think when he came, you guys were all there. And you guys heard what he said in October when he made his visit to Central Florida. He was bullish on UCF then, and he's even I think he feels even stronger. I said on my sportscast, it sounds like Brett Yormark has a soft spot for UCF. It just makes so much sense to have UCF be Florida's flagship school in this conference. I mean, you got the 3rd biggest state in the country, and you got one of the premier schools out of it, which is really neat. The thing that I took away the most out of Brett Yormark as a vocal commissioner is when I asked him about UCF. I think the way I phrased the question, I said, when you were here in October, you'd mentioned how important having the number 17 ranked TV market was, and how important it was to have a footprint in Florida was. And I said, since October, how has UCF risen to the challenge and gotten onto the big stage? And he instantly was like, they've risen to the challenge. The UCF Twitter mob has embraced the branding, so has the school. And he went on this 45-second, tangent about how UCF makes so much sense, how they've been recruiting under this Big 12 halo, how they've been capitalizing on this move. And to hear the commissioner of the Big 12, who's very, very cutting edge, say that about UCF was huge. You don't think recruits are watching these press conferences and tuning in, and they're in tune with what's going on. And so to hear that from the commissioner was great. He's very in tune of what's going on. when you're seeing all this weird stuff with the Pac-12 and their media rights deal, you got to give even more credit to Brett Yormark of making sure the Big 12 had their spot before all this other stuff started going on, because the Pac-12 is kind of left out in the wind. And so I've been impressed. He's vocal. He's edgy. He's going to try some things that are going to work out. He's going to try some things that aren't going to work out. But I'd rather have a progressive commissioner than someone that's just sitting by and letting everything else happen around him, right?
Right.
In your conversations with Knights players that were there as well, head coach Gus Malzahn, how would you describe it? Is there a confidence going into this league that they feel in this first season that they can hit the ground running?
It was a subtle confidence. I don't think there was no sense of arrogance or cockiness, which is smart. You don't want to come in guns blazing at media days and just start firing off all this stuff and then have the other teams like, all right, buddy, calm down. But JRP, Ricky Barber, those two especially, there was this quiet confidence of, we weren't happy with the way we finished last year. But I think now with a revamped roster, some really high quality transfers, a really, really, really good top 40, top 45-ish recruiting class, they have the chance to do something this year. Gus and the guys did say they didn't do us any favors with the way the start of conference play was designed. I don't think another team has a harder, outside maybe BYU or maybe Cincinnati, has a harder 4-game stretch to start conference play. You got Kansas State, Baylor, Kansas, which everyone's like, Kansas. Hey, Kansas has 2 dudes on the first team all Big 12 offense. Yep. They're going to put up 40 points a game. And then you got Oklahoma after a bye week. And so, didn't do them any favors, but this is a team I think that understands that if they can keep the boat afloat through those first 4 games, it's a very, very winnable backstretch that I think they can capitalize on. I think they also, what was neat with Ricky Barber, guys, that stuck out to me is when I asked him a question about being on that stage, being in Arlington, being at the home of the Dallas Cowboys, he kind of took a moment to look around at the stage he was on, and he realized how special it was to be there representing his school. And this is a defensive line and a defensive front for UCF that's supposed to be really good. And I think he realized how neat this was, and he's just ready to prove what UCF can do against some of these big dogs.
Alex, you cover this team pretty closely. I mean, you're around them. You sort of know what's happening as they move to the Big 12. Are there any areas where you're concerned that they're not quite ready yet? If that's fundraising, if that's depth of athletes, is there any area where you have concern about UCF fitting into the Big 12?
Concern number one is what happens if John Rice Plumlee gets hurt. Yeah. That's, I think, at the forefront of my mind. He had some health issues last year, and things dropped off a little bit. I think if John Rice can stay healthy, they'll be fun to watch. I think wide receivers wise, Javon Baker is obviously, he's going to be an elite downfield threat, but is Darren Hinshaw's offensive philosophy going to allow this team to do what I think last year, when we saw a downfield bomb, you're up in the press box, like, oh, finally, it's like, this is the Big 12. It's not the American anymore. So if you're not going to be airing it out, I know Darren Hinshaw likes to do that. If you're not going to be airing it out and giving your weapons on the edge a chance to put up some numbers, then you're going to get beat. And I think they're going to learn quickly how important it is to put up big numbers in this conference. I think this is a team that, I asked Ricky as well and said, hey, the Big 12 is known for high-flying offenses, and they're going to put up numbers. It's going to be a good day if you can only give up, if you give up 24 25 points a game, that's okay, because you can just put up 35 and win. And Ricky said, he's like, look, we're taking it as a personal challenge. We're getting a lot of preseason accolades for our defensive line, and we need to embrace that and get pressure on the quarterback and cause havoc for these offenses. Because if you give these opposing offenses in the Big 12 time, it's going to be a long day at the office.
Alex, you mentioned the schedule, being daunting at the beginning, with Kansas State, Which game do you think UCF kind of can surprise people and be like, wow, I didn't expect them to, pull that one off, but, give them a good chance that they will,
That's a good question. I was going to say, if it wasn't Big 12, I'd say, you guys probably have already touched on the show before, but yesterday, Boise State was picked to win the Mountain West, and that week 2 matchup is
Yeah.
It's not great. I think UCF goes there and wins, but it's going to be a really tough game. Boise State is, I think, back to where they were, at least top 25 potential at Boise State. The way they finished last year, beating North Texas in the bowl game, they're going to be fun. But in terms of the Big 12, that's a good question because, I'll say this too. If UCF starts off strong, I wouldn't be surprised if they give Oklahoma a really good game down there in Norman because there's so many, when you're playing a dude that used to be on your team, and they have a lot of respect for Dylan Gabriel, and Oklahoma went 6-6 last year. We got to see him in the Cheez-It Bowl here in Orlando, and Oklahoma is not the Oklahoma of the past. And yeah, they finished the year strong last year, and they're going to be much better under Brent Venables this season. But I think UCF can go down there and give them a game, and take advantage of Oklahoma's last season in the league and try to leave a nice legacy mark in year one for UCF. Dylan Gabriel is a really talented quarterback. There's Heisman buzz for a reason. But just the way I heard UCF players talking about that game, they want to get up for that one. And when you have that sort of energy and a reason to perform on the road like that, I think it can create a fun storyline and a fun game.
You're still fairly new to the Orlando market. How would you describe the reaction you get from UCF coverage, the comments from viewers, feedback that you hear? Do you feel a buzz as they move into the Big 12?
I feel a huge buzz, and the really big wave was at media days of this excitement. And when we cover UCF, and I made it a point of emphasis when I got to Orlando of look, we're a year away from this Big 12 move. I've been here about 10, 11 months. It's like this is a big transition season of going from the American to the Big 12. We need to be there for this story. It's a huge story. And it's more than just football, guys. It's every sport. It's facility upgrades. It's bigger than just and it's a story bigger than sports as well. But great reception. No one has ever reached out to me and said you're covering UCF too much. It's always like it's not like, hey, we've gotten some like comments here and there like, hey, why don't you cover Miami more? It's like, because South Florida's 4 hours away. But it's one of those things where people are appreciative, people care. And when we do go out of our way to make a trip, like going to Texas and covering Big 12 Media Days, we've gotten a lot of feedback. Just thanks for giving them a platform. Thanks for giving the players a platform, the athletes, the coaches. And the coaches were appreciative as well because, it's one thing to go down there and put out your message. But if your own hometown media isn't, reciprocating there and at least talking about them, being fair as well, then it's tough. But you guys are all over the UCF beat, and I think it's neat to see this program on the rise get as much attention as they're getting. If this fit didn't make sense and this team didn't have a lot of talent on it, and I don't think it would matter as much. If you, I think it's one of those things where if they went into the conference, you're like, they were picked 14th and it's going to be a solidified 14th. I think it'd be a little different, but they're in a fun place. Picked middle of the pack by the media. They were picked 8th. I had them 7th. But as we've seen, the last couple of Big 12 champs have come out of that middle. So
do you plan to cover any road games?
Great question. If I was in charge of the budget, I would say every game.
Did they spend all the budget on sending you to Arlington?
No. Thankfully. But no, there is if we do cover a couple road games, the two at the top of the list are K-State in the opener, going to Manhattan, because it's the first game. I mean, that Baylor game, the second week's gonna be a lot of fun too, with Big 12 homecoming in town. But that K-State game, that first week is going to be huge. And then the second one is Oklahoma. When you have Dylan Gabriel, when you have Danny Stutzman, I don't know if you guys have talked about him at all, but he's from Orlando, played at Foundation Academy, led the Big 12 in tackles last year. He's a stud for that Oklahoma defense. When you have those storylines, it's Oklahoma's last season. I think that would be neat to atmosphere. It's such a fun atmosphere. And I think UCF fans in general are going to want to go on the road. Big 12 fans are going to want to come here, but UCF fans are going to want to go to some of these unique venues like Oklahoma State, whenever they get there next year. So It'd be fun. It'd be fun. Hopefully they send us. I will say, if a game we're the ABC station, if a game is on ABC on the road, there's a very strong chance we go there and do a live special and get that done.
Alex, were you wearing that tie before our show, or did you put that tie on just for us?
I could totally lie and say I'm just dressing for the occasion of being in your company,
Okay.
But just got off the sports desk, and so This is the one I wore today. I made sure to wear very neutral colors in Arlington, though, because I don't want people to say, "Oh, he's an Oklahoma fan. What's he doing?" Or this is red. So Kansas, maybe Houston.
How many ties do you own, if you had to guess?
Too many. What's weird though is I own probably 60 to 65 ties, but I only wear like 12 of them. I feel like that's every guy though. Like we all have those ones we just lean on and like.
So we'll see this red one in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. People always, yeah. I go through a rotation of like 10 of them, and no one's ever said, "Hey, I can't believe you wore that tie," for the second time this month.
They will now. We'll be watching.
Hey, if people start calling me out on that, that's fine. I'll embrace it. So.
Alex, as far as predictions for the record, UCF, give us a real quick prediction of what you think is going to go down this season.
That's man. I tell you what. One thing that I learned from being down in Arlington is historically the Big 12 media is really, really bad at picking the Big 12 champion, and that joke was made a lot. It was one of those things where, because the last couple of years, no one's picking the champ. It's coming out of the middle. And one of the sports director down in Dallas, his name's Newey Scruggs. He's a good dude. His pick to win the conference was Texas Tech. I don't think not too many people have that. And so I have UCF finishing 7th, guys. They're picked to finish 8th. I have them 7th. It's just a really difficult schedule, and it just starts off really, really tough. It's a welcome to the Big 12. See how you handle it. I think if UCF in that stretch can go 2-2, when you're looking at Kansas State, Baylor, Kansas, and Oklahoma, you go 2-2 in that stretch, that back half is very winnable. And I don't mean like win half of them. I mean, you can if you have a good season, everyone's healthy, you can run that table back half. And so if I had to guess, I'd say probably somewhere, I think 8-4. I'd say 8-4 is almost the ceiling. I just don't see a way where if you win 9 games in your debut Big 12 season, that's big time.
Yeah, I think that's a consensus.
I think 8-4 is my ceiling, and I think anything less than 6-6 would be incredibly disappointing. There's too much talent on this team. Yeah.
You're a fair, impartial member of the media. You're also a Penn State alum. How much do you bleed for Penn State? How passionate are you?
Do I have any? I got a Penn State pillow on my couch back there. But usually there's more Penn State stuff. I'm a huge Penn State guy. They got playoff aspirations this year. They opened up against Neil Brown in West Virginia in the opener, and so I'll have the chance to go back during UCF's bye week. I try to go back, and I was all excited because with the bye week, I was like, Penn State's home, great. I hope it's a huge game. Maybe Michigan or Ohio State. It's UMass, so. But I'm still going because it's the one time I can go all fall. I was like, why is it UMass? And it's our Friday night football show, so I can't even fly until Saturday morning. So thankfully it's a 3:30 kickoff, so it gives me plenty of time. We got Matt Dolan here saying the Hawkeyes are going to win the whiteout. Oof, that's tough. Yeah, Iowa's always been a pin in our side. But if you guys ever get the chance to go to Happy Valley, fun story real quick. My senior year of college is when UCF came to Penn State. Blake Bortles, Storm Johnson, those guys beat Penn State. It was one of the few games I got to go as a student because I was meaning as a fan, I was so locked into, getting my TV, radio ready to do post-grad work. And one of the few games I went to as a fan in UCF. I remember thinking at that point back in 2014, I think a lot of Big Ten people were like, UCF, they're a lot better than we thought. And look at them now a decade later, Power 5. It's pretty neat.
It's a good story. Alex, we appreciate you being so generous with your time tonight between sportscasts, and you can catch Alex on WFTV Channel 9 here in Orlando. Alex, thanks for being with us on Suns Live. We'll see you out there.
Hey, thanks, guys. You do a great job. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
They learned a little bit about UCF back then, didn't they?
They sure did, Trace. Sure did. That was a good game too. That's one of those underrated wins that UCF has that we forget
doesn't get
about
talked
because
about.
that season was so magical in Louisville and Baylor. But that early season win was a huge part of that team, and I think that kind of set the tone probably for the rest of that season.
Yeah, some news and notes from football. Kickoff luncheon Friday, August 18th in the arena. So, that's coming soon. Space game officially announced November 11th versus Oklahoma State. We debate that on Around the Kingdom, the choice of opponent. I know a lot of people kept talking about Houston, but that's senior night. So you didn't think that would be quite the fit. UCF wants to own Space. So why do they want to share it with Houston? And then, and in memory of Todd Cleveland, Night Nation lost a great former UCF Knight who passed away way too soon, Adam.
Yeah, if you're a diehard UCF fan, Todd Cleveland's name is certainly one that you know. You see the picture on screen there, him and Dante Culpepper. He was part of that, that receiving core as Dante was kind of making his ascension through UCF and, part of the reason for that offensive success in the Mike Kruzak system. So certainly sad to see the news. Obviously still a young man. And I know a lot of Night Nation, a lot of his former teammates were really broken up over the news. So rest in peace to Todd Cleveland, and our thoughts and prayers with his family.
Definitely rest in peace. You heard Alex mention earlier the big question surrounding John Rice Plumlee. We don't have an official date for the start of preseason camp yet, but I want to start talking about these positions as we get closer to that. John Rice Plumlee, the whole season hinges on him. Can he be subpar? Not even talking about it from an injury situation. Does it all rest on him, his arms, his legs?
Well, maybe not both arms.
Arm.
Look, I think you're going to need a more consistent John Rice Plumlee if UCF has to have success in this upcoming season. He's going to have to make sure that defenses know and keep them honest that he can pass the football, that he can be a thrower, that he can throw the ball down the field. I think we saw teams like Louisville and Navy, while he was in there, stack the box and force the issue, and that's where JRP struggled. So he's going to have to establish that he has the ability to move the ball in the passing game. Look, I think we talk a lot about his accuracy, and I certainly understand why that is. There were certainly some throws that I think we all said, "How did you miss that one?" I think the two things I'm looking forward to seeing from him, really, and one that we've heard so far from Darren Hinshaw, is his pocket awareness, right? His footwork, sensing the rush, sort of understanding how to operate in the pocket. Sometimes I think he felt pressure and just started running right away and didn't really wait that extra beat or two for a play to develop. So I think that's one, his pocket presence, but two, look, for all the the accuracy issues, and again, I don't want to be the Gus Malzahn apologist and talk about how JRP didn't play football for 2 years and blah blah blah, but his decision making has to get a lot better. Where to go with the football, what read he's looking at, when to throw it away, when to protect himself, when to get out of bounds, when it's okay to try to pull a left-handed throw with a linebacker dragging you down by the ankles. I think his decision making has to also improve a lot. So I think the intangibles, pocket presence, decision making, I think that's just as important as his ability to actually be accurate with the ball and really be a threat to throw the ball downfield.
Leo, we heard so much from Gus Malzahn, and I don't mean to parrot him here, but saying that JRP hadn't really been a quarterback for very long. Is there fairness in that, though, that he did have those experiences a year ago, and that he can build upon those now that he's had game experience?
Yeah, I think with the year that he has now under his belt at UCF, I think it's experience that going on to this year will help him a lot. I'm not really buying too much into the excuse. I think there's work that needs to be put in also in the off season, and I know he's doing it, and he's working with Hinshaw hand in hand. But yeah, I think with him having this past season, there's moving forward there'll be no excuses, and now literally Gus can't bring that back up. Like, it's now or never for him. And obviously
don't underestimate Gus. Bringing that back up. He's only played 1 year. He'll just pivot that statement there a little bit.
Once the season gets rolling, that just cannot be an excuse. It'd be quite the embarrassing statement to make during a post game or after practice. So
why did you phrase that like that to Gus at media availability?
I mean, you know what? I'll give it a try one day.
No, don't.
Oh, Joe, Jesus.
No,
we have enough trouble here.
We have enough trouble here. No, don't do that. Don't do that. We talked about JRP and possibly injury situation. To your point, Adam, if he's going to stay back in the pocket, not just run around, and they want to rely upon his speed, and he's got great speed. He can do things, but if he gets injured, and which college quarterback goes through the entire season? I mean, I think there's a big question about who's at QB2 this season. It was, as much as there was divide amongst the fan base, I don't know about the locker room, that Mikey Keene, JRP, you knew what you were getting from Mikey Keene when he came off the bench. What do we know that we're getting from QB2?
I mean, I think at this point, I have no inside information. I would assumption that Timmy McClain has that inside track. He's been in the system for a year. He had a whole year running the scout team, learning the offense. Coaches have seen him. Obviously, Hinshaw's new for everybody, but coaches have seen him play. So my assumption would be Timmy McClain is QB2. And it's really tough. I think, look, I like what I saw out of Timmy McClain in the one season he started for the team in Tampa, but he was also on a dreadful football team. So I have no idea how to evaluate his level of talent. The pocket was breaking down all around him. He had some weapons, but was he able to get the ball to them? Was everything just a scramble drill? I have no idea how to assess him in that style of offense. I think he has skill sets that are very, very very good. I mean, he led the Cows back in that game in 2021 and almost made a comeback before he, got sacked, threw the ball away, whatever. But look, I think he's got some of the skills, but I don't sit here and go, hey, I think I'm fully confident that if QB, like last year, if you told me that JRP was QB1 and he went down for a season-ending injury and Mikey Keene came in, I'd go, hey, you know what? It's going to be different, but I think we're going to be okay. I don't know if I have that same sentiment, at least right now, largely because I just haven't seen enough of Timmy McClain. And Xavier Williams, again, X Factor from Charlotte, same concept. He knows an offense that Will Healy ran, who's with UCF now, but I have no idea where we're getting there. So you got a bunch of question marks behind JRP, and I think that's the part where you go, ooh, Gus is really all in on JRP this year. There's no QB controversy now. It's all JRP, and that's good and that's bad. I guess we're about to find out which one.
Leo, all eyes are on the quarterback, and sometimes fans don't watch the wide receivers. Do you think the wide receivers warranted some criticism for not getting separation and not making things a little bit easier for whoever was behind center?
Oof, I honestly don't think it has anything to do with separation. From what I saw last year and the things I saw during spring, I think that our two main wide receivers are extremely talented. They're potential Sunday guys. If they get the ball, they start getting targets, and catching. I think they can play on Sundays. But I don't think any criticism should warrant, towards the wide receivers. If anything, it all starts up front for me. Once you give JRP time, I think it allows the receivers to create that space. So there was times last year where I saw the offensive line not give time at all. So, before we start talking about wide receivers, let's, kind of talk about the offensive line.
Well, Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson, we know what we're going to see from them, but who else, Adam, do you think we might learn a little bit more about in this coming season? Who's going to step up, be a player at wide receiver?
I'm excited to see what Xavier Townsend does in year 2. We saw him on the field as a true freshman, which doesn't happen a ton in college football these days. We saw him on the field as a true freshman, making some plays down the stretch, sort of taking that Ryan O'Keefe style role for UCF. I'm excited to see what he does. And look, the two transfers that came in, Chauncey Magwood and Corey Gamage, I think those are two guys as well that, what are they going to be able to bring to the table? They both have unique skill sets. Gamage is a giant human being. So what can he bring to the table? What kind of threat can both of those guys be? And X factor for me as well, Amari Johnson. We just forget about Amari Johnson. Didn't play at all last year with an injury. I think we saw flashes of what Amari can do. So if he's healthy this year, what kind of role does Amari have? So I think that's another nice X factor. It's almost like a recruit that we're getting in new because we didn't see him on the field last year.
Leo, what about you? And the names mentioned by Adam, Trent Whittemore is another one that would be interesting to see what he does coming in.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think Trent is one of those guys that could kind of be an X factor too. For some reason, I'm a big fan of Magwood just because he was in SEC school at Kentucky, and he looks very versatile. And he kind of gives you the same vibes as Xavier Townsend. So I think mixing those two up, that could be a really nice combo for short routes. And then having Kobe and Javon outside, pretty exciting playmakers there. So, but yes, look forward to seeing Trent Whittemore out there. I think he's going to be a sneaky one, just like he was for the Gators. Trent Whittemore was a sneaky weapon for the Gators. He was kind of like that wide receiver 3, 4 that they weren't really expecting to make and break out a big play, but he did.
Well, you know the season's getting closer when Ladies' Night is on the schedule, and that is just wrapping up out at the Nicholson Fieldhouse. Let us go to the UCF campus and join some of the ladies who are live with us. Hey, along with Christy Malzahn and UCF Feisty Missy. How was Ladies' Night, ladies?
It was awesome. It was my third night. Each year it keeps getting better and better. So if you did not get a chance to come, I highly recommend it.
You gotta make it.
Christy Malzahn, what was the turnout like? What did everybody get to do tonight?
We had about 300 of the finest and brightest women that are the beautiful ladies' nights. And I think they did a little bit of everything. They ran some drills. They learned a little about the equipment process. They did a photo shoot. They did, they got a little of the recruiting spill. They got a full
full experience. How much fun is this for you?
I'm trying to think of a word. What do you say about that?
How much fun is this for you? How much do you look forward to this night?
Well, it's kind of the best night of the summer. You know, I mean, it's fun to see the little kids and the big kids, and you know, we do those camps in June and all that kind of stuff. But this is like fun. This is the fun night. So
this is where you want to be.
You want to be here.
Christy, how fun is it for you to see the big, tough coaches, men, really kind of hang out with the ladies and show a softer side?
They do. It's kind of funny because you can see that they're trying not to be. They think that they're taking care of it and being gentle with us and everything, but then we're like, no, don't think so, and showing them a few things. So it's interesting. It's fun to watch. So good time. They do a good job of it.
Christy, I'm assuming Gus would be your biggest critic. How would he rate tonight? You know, assuming that you were the one running it. So,
Gus knows better than to be too much of a critic. He would probably give me, I'm certain of it, a solid B. That's because I'm sure I didn't do something, or I wasn't fast enough running the hurry up. Extra words there, but we girls, we have more words to use up for the night. So
Big 12 Media Days last week, a lot of excitement, sort of the unofficial kickoff of the season, but really Ladies' Night. Can you sense this now that this season is getting closer when you have this event?
It is time. I mean, you can feel it. He's kind of in that space of he needs to go back to work. Like for real, vacation is over. And this next, from the media days until probably, the 30, they check in the 31st, the 30th, something like that, 30th, I guess. It's a little slow, and he's he's ready. Like, he needs to go. We need to get this going. So I'm ready. I'm ready for him to go back to work.
Krista, we've noticed that Gus has kind of adopted the Florida lifestyle, Bahama, shirts and straw hats. How many of those Bahama shirts does he have? Is that his full closet these days? Is all just flower shirts and straw hats?
He definitely has a different look going on. I make him have a few shirts that tuck in and don't look like Bahama shirts. But his wardrobe has changed. His haircuts have changed. His everything is different these days. That's for sure. Hair color, all the things.
I've been married 20 years, Christy. My wife gets veto power on my outfits. Do you get veto power on what Gus wears? Okay. Yeah.
We had somebody ask the other day if he was going to be wearing the sweater vest. No. Absolutely not. So, yeah, absolutely. Have some veto power. Brad and I, we stay in touch. Our equipment, director of equipment, he will send me a text. Which one, which color, what do you think? So I do have a few of say in here. And I y'all get over here behind me.
You have inside info. Look at that.
What's up?
Hey, guys.
What's up, guys?
You guys have fun tonight at Ladies' Night?
Oh, it was a blast. Yeah, man. It was wonderful.
They crashed it and hung out with us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you guys excited? The season's getting closer when Christy Malzahn puts on Ladies' Night.
What,
How many
2 weeks,
days?
right? Or
How many days to our
okay,
first
so
game?
Friday.
40.
I don't know. I know that it's what is that? August 31st.
41.
August 31st. There's gonna be a lot of touchdowns. That's all I can say.
That's all we can say.
Wow.
From the tight ends?
First, a lot of touchdowns. That's right. Okay.
From the tight ends, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Both.
dump it up.
All right,
We got
guys.
Baby tight end and the old man tight end.
Too old. Too old.
Old man. Wow.
The veteran, the grizzled veteran.
The grizzled veteran.
Yeah, real. Yeah. It's like fine wine.
Christy, before we let you go, what's the road trip you're most looking forward to with the Knights this season?
Kansas State. Kind of. Ooh, it's coming up fast. Kansas State, because it's the first one. That would be, well, Boise, but now.
You ever been in Lubbock?
I have not. I've not been to. I've been to Kansas State before. I've been to Oklahoma. I've been to Baylor not as a coach's wife, but as a friend. I guess that would be the word. And yeah, that's about it. So I mean, I've been trying to remember. Did I go to one at Oklahoma State? But yeah, it's gonna be all new for me too. This is a whole new world out here.
Whole new world. Christy Malzahn, thanks for being with us and glad you had a good time out at Ladies' Night.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting them come and hang with us.
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Missy.
See you. Oh, Jan. Who else is here? Missy, before we sign,
Britt,
there's Britt.
Lauren.
Hello, Lauren.
Hey, Brett.
Hello, everybody. Did you have fun tonight?
You had the best time tonight.
Did Britt hit any of the sleds? Did she
Britt-
knock anybody down?
She won the Oreo. She beat Ricky Barber in a no hands Oreo eating contest.
Wow.
And Coach Martin.
Twice. So
Twice.
this is her second year winning.
Back to back. Wow.
Wow. Very good. Ladies, thanks for being with us.
Bye.
Go Knights.
Thanks, Missy.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Missy. All right. Well, that turned out pretty good. I am a happy camper that we pulled off that live shot at him.
I know you are, Trace. It's been 12 months in the making for that live.
It's been
shot.
multiple years.
Is this the last show ever? Are we done now? Is this
Yeah,
it? We're signing off for good?
To answer Robert's question, if you drop your question in the comments, we'll take your question when we get to the mailbag. Quick around the kingdom note, Leo, are you perchance accompanying men's basketball in their tour of Italy, August 6th through 16? 4 cities, 4 games: Milan, Venice, Florence, and Rome. Did you make it to any of those cities when you were most recently in it?
If I only could. But yes, I did make it to Florence and Rome. Those 2 cities, those are hits. Can't miss those. Absolutely must go. I've never been to Venice. Milan is, let's just say, the Italian version of New York. Nothing crazy, just very industrialized city like. So I think they're going to enjoy Rome and Florence more than any of the other 2 cities.
Very good.
Might be.
Very good. Adam, you mentioned earlier around the kingdom. Now, what are we calling this? We're calling this episode 1 because last week it was the pilot, but it has dropped. It is on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel.
That is correct. So last week, episode 0, that one doesn't count, although it does count. This week, episode 1, really episode 2, where you and Elo got into a little debate about the biggest moments in UCF history. And Eric was really fired up about one specific omission.
I just don't agree. You got to put the Black Friday. How do you not put the Mike Hughes and Black Friday game? If UCF loses that game to South Florida, we might be having a completely different conversation about the Big 12, even if we are in the Big 12. I would also throw out the 2018 Memphis title game, the come from behind, where Josh Heupel raises his hand as they rally around after the Mackenzie Milton injury. I think was a significant moment. I do not agree with Blake Bortles going number 3. We had Dante Culpepper go in the first round. I don't think that's a significant moment that should crack the top 12.
He's
More
fired
of
up.
that fired up commentary from Eric Lopez.
Fired up, Elo.
Yes, you can find around the kingdom.
YouTube. Yeah, go to
on the
YouTube. It's in our
Sons.
podcast feed too if you need the audio version, if that's your thing. we got you covered there. It's a really fun show. Elo and Trace have been yelling at each other for years via DMs and text messages, and now they let me occupy a 3x5 square in the corner to watch them yell at each other.
And now we're trying not to talk to one another during the week, so we have topics that we can discuss on the show. So, all right, it is that time of the week.
What time is that, Trace?
Is it?
What time is it, Trace?
It's that time again.
It's back by popular demand. It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Here's the thing. I've met Brian has a lovely wife. He has children.
Wonderful family. Tremendous
It's just,
family.
and then there's that. And I just don't know what to do with all this information.
We just saw his wife. We should have gotten her on camera doing an intro to this segment. We'll have to do that when we.
Oh. Which Peterson could introduce the mailbag better would be a very interesting marriage counseling story down the road.
Before we roll on a video question, Emptiness 4 with 2 questions, but his first one is Brian W. Peterson real? He's very real. Very real.
Look, there's a viral video of a lady on an airplane. I'm not saying Brian was on that flight. I'm not saying he wasn't, though.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you.
All right, let's roll that video question from Spursy Knight.
What's up, Night Nation? Ross, a.k.a. Spursy Knight, here on a beautiful summer day in downtown Seattle. And my question for the Suns is, what Big 12 fan base are you most looking forward to interacting with this year at the Bounce House? Go Knights, charge on.
In the Bounce House, he said. So 4 opponents to choose from.
Interacting is the interesting word there. So that can go any way. West Virginia people seem a little crazy. Oklahoma State, we've had huge. I guess give me Baylor for no other reason than I guess they're the less crazy of the 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Baylor too, just because the history we have with them as well. So I don't know. I think it's it's established. I guess rivalry you could say. So yeah, Baylor fans for sure.
Put me down for Oklahoma State, the space game. The second question from Emptiness 4, Michael. What position group would you say has the best incoming freshman class in 23?
It's a great question. I think it's kind of headlined by, I guess, the top guy. I mean, John Walker at D tackle, Isaiah Nixon. I think he may play D end. So I guess give me D line, because I think we probably have 2 guys who are going to see some significant playing time on the field.
At Rejoice Nights, what are your thoughts on the tourist tax? She uses the word grab here. Does UCF get any funding? Is it good or bad that UCF is trying to get this money? The recommendation from this council is that UCF is one of the projects that they are recommending be considered for funds. No word yet on if that's going to happen, and if so, how much. But Leo, what do you think? It's available to them.
It's
and
available.
Now it's up to another group to decide whether they get some or any.
I mean, go after it. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's good if we get the money. I think it's good because I feel like there will be a little bit of hatred among the other Florida schools. You're using county funds to run a football or athletics program. But at the end of the day, go for it.
I think when Terry Mohadra made his presentation, and before this, UCF hadn't really been in the mix for this, but as he was saying, these programs that are coming, Oklahoma State and Kansas and all these, they bring traveling fans in ways in which Oklahoma or Tulsa and ECU perhaps did not. So those are hotel nights. So another one from Rejoice Nights, talking about Ladies Night. I saw her out there in her photos on social media. Do you guys wish there was a men's night, and what would you want to do at the event? I definitely think there should be, and that's an opportunity for Kingdom NIL to have some sort of men's night, some sort of camp. I think anything that's football skill related, anytime you can hit something or someone.
Yeah,
would be a part of it.
I'm pro men's night. I don't want to sweat though, Trace. Like I don't want to go there. Like if we're gonna hang out and drink some beers, maybe watch some film together, tell some war stories. Like I think that would be like play some poker. Gus is on Twitter saying he's great at ping pong. Let's get some cornhole.
Do you believe that though? He was quick to retort on social media that he was good at ping pong. Do you see him as a ping pong guy?
I feel like if you're not good at ping pong, you wouldn't say you're good at ping pong. I feel like that's something that you can get out of that pretty quickly. So I got to imagine he's got some chops in the ping pong game, but I don't want to sweat. So if there's a men's night where I don't have to sweat and I can just kind of hang out, Well, trust me, I know that I went outside early. But if I can just not sweat and just hang out and have a couple beers and have them tell you some inside info and play some poker and do something, like I'm in for that.
Leo, men's night? Yes or no?
I have to disagree with you, Adam. I feel like this is a great opportunity to have a Pro Bowl like competition with a men's night. Have men out there, throwing, kicking, doing all these.
Getting taped up and taken to medical care after this.
Exactly. Make it
donating my Achilles to UCF. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Sign a waiver before, but yeah.
Oh, definitely gonna make you sign a waiver. At UCF, general consensus: UCF wins 6, maybe 8 games this year. He's asking, do you think this projection is based on 2022 JRP or improved JRP? And if it's based on previous performances, how many games do you think UCF could win with an improved JRP? I think they take that into. I don't know their exact formula for this. I don't think you're predicting 8 wins based on his 2022 performance.
When I look at the schedule, it's part of how do we improve, but it's also part of our competition improved. So if you're telling me JRP is going to be Heisman level, then sure, you can talk me into 8, 9, 10 wins. If you tell me JRP is going to be JRP of last year, then I'm worried about bowl eligibility. If you tell me JRP is going to make some strides, then I'm in that 6, 7, 8 range. So I guess I'm assuming he's going to make some strides, but I don't think he's going to get to that Heisman level. So I guess I'm assuming that. Now, if we get JRP of last year, if we get Navy JRP, if we get ECU JRP, if we get Louisville JRP, we'll see all next year because 4 or 5 wins is probably our max at that point.
Navy JRP. Leo, what about you? What you think? The 6 to 8 wins based on improved JRP?
Yeah, the 8 wins is based on improved JRP. 6 wins is 22 JRP. Just as it is, if JRP comes improved, we know we can get to 8 wins. I can see a way where UCF gets 8 wins with an improved JRP. If he improves, we have talent. It's not like we don't have talent. So 8 wins is definitely going to happen if he's improved. That's all I got.
Robert, if you're dropping your question, drop it in the comments.
It's here. I got it. Here we go. Ready?
Okay. Mailbag question, 2 letters, 2 words. Which unit will have the biggest challenge this football season? Trenches, DBs, backs, receivers. He leaves out quarterback. To me, it always comes down to the line, though, right? What you do in the trenches. So
I might go DB. I don't know where you're at. Yeah. I might go DB because the Big 12 is going to throw the football. We're going to have a secondary that, while some have experience, they're all new together. And they're going to throw the pill around there, and that old Big 12 I hear. So DB might be the spot I go there.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. DBs. I would even go as far as saying the back 7. We have Jason Johnson back there quarterbacking the linebackers. But after that, it's just, I don't know what I'm getting with the transfers coming in, So it's the back 7, throwing the ball, making sure those linebackers are falling back in coverage as well. So got to be DBs.
At Nay Senha, why did we lose so many basketball players to the portal? And inside information. What do you got? What do you got? You're on the know.
NIL, I think, plays a big role in a lot of that stuff. I think it's been well documented that UCF's not as progressive in the basketball NIL space as some of the other schools. And you just saw Ithiel Horton go to Texas, where I'm pretty sure they have a nice little NIL situation. Yeah, I think for guys like...
They got a little money there.
Nice little NIL situation. Guys like Brandon Suggs, New Mexico State, and Lahat Shun, I think, ended up in, somewhere in North Dakota. Those are guys who just aren't getting opportunities. And in some respect, I think, but we probably told them, hey, maybe in your best interest to keep it moving. But I think the guys we're losing that we want is probably an NIL play.
Leo at CJ Jones 917. Does Terry Mohadra actually have faith in Johnny Dawkins? What's going on there? Do you think he believes in him, or is this a transitional year for Coach Dawkins?
Yeah, I wouldn't say faith. I don't necessarily would have faith in somebody I'm just trying to give a chance to get things right. I guess faith. I don't know. It's how do you look at that? I'm giving Johnny Dawkins an extra year just to see what happens, or maybe another extra 2 years because we're moving into a new conference. So it's a little bit of, I guess, a blind faith. I have to do this because if I just move away from Dawkins, God knows where our program's going to be from a year, from now. So it's a little bit of just, I guess, blind faith, but. It's not genuine if you get what I don't think Terry, I don't think he's okay, I have faith in you, It's not certain.
At Zeebel's UCF, we no longer have to wonder what song JRP would use to pump up the crowd. I guess that's Party in the USA. He's asking about some other UCF greats. What would be their pump up the crowd song? Blake Bortles, your neighbor, Adam. Blake Bortles.
Well, I mean, so he's got some options here. I thought I was picking between which of these I like. He's got Bortles with "Come Sail Away." He's got Latavius Murray with "Crazy Train." Look, "Come Sail Away" is an underrated classic ballad. However, I don't think it gets
up the jam song.
It doesn't get the crowd moving. I think "Crazy Train" gets the crowd moving. The real question, though, Trace, is could you also sing "Party in the USA"?
No, I'm not doing that here.
Yeah,
I'm not asking you to unless you want to. But could you have, if someone put a microphone in front of you and said,
"No, I mean I know it in my head, but
$1,000, sir, if
really
you can sing." No, so there's no Leo can sing "Party in the USA." Yes.
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
I would say so, but you know what? Just for bounce house purposes, football purposes, let's just keep that one.
Okay,
keep that one out of the bounce house.
I mean, it is the USA party time.
No.
However, next bouncing with Leo, that may be a question. Maybe you start with a lyric and then see if your guests can.
We'll see. We'll have some youngins out there, so we'll see. They know Miley Cyrus like that.
The best part of that video was Javon Baker and Lokai Palui trying to not judge JRP as he walked over to them with a microphone singing "Party in the USA." Javon Baker looked at him like, God, I hope you can throw, because if this is all I'm getting here, this ain't going to work out.
At Love Not War 311, still wondering, with our prior success from the portal, do we hold back spots from our high school recruiting to allow for transfers, or do we just worry about that when the time comes? I think that's right, the balancing act every coach has to do. You know, how much do you rely on the high school recruits? How many positions do you keep open? I think that is a constantly moving, everything's moving around. I think that's quite the challenge for these coaches.
Yeah, I know they've changed some of the limits with how many scholarships you can give out and how many classes you can take, but I do think that's part of what's happening is you're going to hold some scholarships back because you don't know who's going to pop in the portal. And here's the challenging thing. Grad transfers can hit the portal anywhere. See, Jaden Francois last week leaves UCF as a grad transfer. So it's not even like you can plan.
Where'd he go? He went to
Utah State.
Yeah.
It's not like you can sort of plan those windows now because you have grad transfers who can hit the portal whenever they want to. So I think you got to hold one or two in the back pocket just in case somebody pops loose that you have interest in.
A couple of tailgating questions now. In our next one, he advised that I just say it real fast. I'm not comfortable doing that. So at Don't Falk Up 23, not comfortable.
So you don't say Falk. If you said Falk, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it. His tailgating question.
No, you can't say tailgating. You're all tongue-tied now.
Are you pro crab legs or lobster? Do you come prepared with one or not? I don't. That's going to upset some people. I don't like seafood, so that's a big no for me on both.
Trace.
Yeah, no on seafood.
Listen, you're talking to a guy who got food poisoning from shrimp at a restaurant that had no water anywhere near it, which is probably a good idea to not do that kind of thing.
You didn't go to a place that was known for its seafood, though, right?
Yes.
You went to like a sports bar.
That is correct. Yeah, nowhere near the water, by the way, which should be your first clue. And so I'm a little bit cautious now about the freshness of food. But at a tailgate, I'm assuming I'm like 6 seltzers deep at this point. So bring me all of that you can have. I'm not going to do it myself. Besides, the Sons of UCF tailgate's usually well known for potato salad. I don't know if we have room for the seafood section. But if Don't Falk Up
crab salad,
bring it by, friends.
Leo, where are you at on seafood?
You guys live in a peninsula but don't like seafood? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I didn't say I like seafood. I don't like throwing it up. So if it'll stay with me, Leo, big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on seafood. I love seafood, so I'm all for the seafood. Bring me the lobster and the crab legs. So I'm good with that.
Dolan's got it right. Does not travel well.
Yeah. And Brian W. Peterson, we will end on his question. Another tailgating one. Are you pro beer can or bottle koozie? No. I just hold the bottle. No.
I don't. Yeah. So I don't want to prepare to have to bring one of those with me. Like I got too much other stuff to worry about than doing.
He seems like a koozie guy.
What does that mean?
It just seems to me to fit Brian.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you mean.
I just think it makes sense that he would be a koozie guy.
I don't get it. Like if someone like hands me a koozie while I'm at a tailgate, yeah, sure, fine, I'll use it. But I'm not going to think ahead enough to prepare. Plus, the drink will be in my hand that long enough for me to feel the coldness. So I'm not really worried about that.
Yeah,
right. So let me get it straight. Like, you can still put a koozie. But you can
Leo's
still
getting
put a
everything
koozie
straight
on.
here right at the end. He wants clarification
Yeah,
on
you
seafood
can
and
put a
koozies.
So beer can or bottle koozie. I put a koozie on a beer can all the time. So it's like, you know,
But do
I
you
guess
bring a koozie with you, Leo? Are you like, hey, I'm going to hang like on apparently on June 30th when you couldn't make it to the event on July 1st? Did you have a koozie with you where you were going that night?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay,
But if it's
okay.
handed to me, you know, I'll go ahead and put it
Fair
on.
enough. All right, I'm with you on that.
And finally, Knights kicker Colton Boomer makes this year's all-name team. So says film, TV, and podcast producer Jim Weber. His is really the most normal sounding. Take a look at some of these names. Adam, what's a General Booty? That is well publicized. That is a tremendous name for a quarterback out of Oklahoma.
This again, we talked about this pre-show. This can't be real. I know Leo proved to me that there's actually somebody named Pig Cage. That just can't be real. And I will submit for you all right now. If you're out there, you have children, whoever dude person's parents are, they just gave up. They were just like, call him dude. And that's all they did. I can't believe some of these names are real. I can't believe.
Steel Chambers. That sounds like he's in another
That sounds
profession.
like no, that sounds
But this
like
is proof. This is proof, Leo.
Proof that memorable factor.
Memorable factor is
a
a
real
person.
Tater Reed out of UAB.
Steel Chambers sounds
he's,
like
he's from London. He's from London. Memorable factors from London. He's English.
Oh, cheerio. Steel Factor, Steel K, whatever you said, sounds like the lead
Steel
character in Boogie.
Chambers.
Steel Chambers, the lead character in Boogie Nights 2.
That was a character. Storm Duck.
Storm Duck.
What was your favorite, Leo? You messaged me with one and you were like, yeah, I just can't believe it.
I mean, dude person just stood out to me. Dude person, I mean, like,
memorable factor.
It doesn't get any more generic than dude person. Can you imagine all the times just saying dude, hey dude, come here, like.
Well, UAB's got a couple of these guys. Fish McWilliams.
Yeah, 3 fun facts on here. Number 1, former UCF great Booby Curry is on this list at wide receiver.
Oh, wow.
That's a deep cut for a lot of
Once
people.
a night.
And
always a night.
And there are 2 people, I don't know if they're brothers, with the last name of Beers. There's Rowdy Beers at FIU and Rocky Beers at Air Force. I need them to be related. Because
Leo,
if not,
can you do a little, Adam,
I
your
don't know what we're
role on
doing.
Around the Kingdom is to fact check. So this
wasn't on Around the Kingdom. I didn't see this on the rundown, Trace.
Rocky Beers being in the Air Force Academy just fits so well. Being in the Rockies, like right there, you know, Coors being right there. So it's, you know, just it makes a perfect fit at Air Force. But
Juice Scruggs.
We've got a request for you, Trace.
Buck Coors.
There it is. These can't be real.
All right, we've had some fun with that. I want to thank Alex Walker from WFTV Channel 9, talking a little UCF football and Big 12 football. And Christy Malzahn, thank you for stopping by, and a wrap up to a very successful ladies' night out at the UCF campus. Adam, Leo, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here this week. Be sure to check out Around the Kingdom on the Suns YouTube channel or wherever you get your downloadable content. For Adam and Leo, I'm Trace Strolko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Javon Baker, thanks for watching the Sons of UCF.
Buck Coors.
Wide receiver 1.